Hey friends. So today we're doing another episode of Supporting Local, and I have a local creator, comic creator with us today by the name of Kevin Krull, who I want to talk about the last name because I see the shirt and I see it on your business card. But we want to talk about the Kickstarter he started for his book, Timewise, which is I've read it already and I want to get into it. But Kevin, introduce us or introduce yourself to those that might be watching. Tell us how many times people ask you about your last name and are any references to the movie, and then just a little bit about Timewise.
Yeah, so I'm Kevin Krull. This is my first graphic novel. It took me like 3 years to write it. And I shopped around looking for a publisher for a little while and found the Gorilla guys, and they've been awesome. And yeah, we're launching a Kickstarter. Or we launched it. It's live now, and yeah, it's been going pretty good. Um, as far as yeah, the last name goes, I knew the movie. We like owned it when I was a kid, and I mean, I liked it, but it's funny. Like, I put the glaive on my banner, for cons and stuff, and it really just drew it to people. Just know that, if you know the movie, you know. So like, yeah, I mean, I love the movie, but people, yeah, people come up all the time like asking about it, and I'm just like, yeah, I didn't have anything to do with it, but you know. Here's the thing I wrote if you want to check that out, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's one of like the most recognizable weapons ever. And then also when they pulled it out in Ready Player One too, it was just like, you
Yeah,
know,
I was surprised they did it. It's kind of cool that it's obscure while still being like kind of well known, you know? Like I'm always surprised when anybody knows it. But like there was a guy at one con that, he makes like replicas of like real weapons, like he'll make or the Zelda sword as a real sword and everything.
uh,
And I asked him like, you ever get the glaive? He's like 10 times every show. I'm like, really? Yeah. He's like, yeah, people have me make it all the time.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
but yeah, that movie it's awesome.
Yeah. Do you have one by chance?
I have one that I 3D printed, but it doesn't look great. I've thought about getting like a nice one, but
Right.
yeah, they're
Awesome.
expensive.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But I mean, but speaking of geeky stuff, I mean, it's funny because I met you at BelaCon. Uh, Julio from the Cryptic Closet, like I was talking to him, and he was like, he started pitching me your book because I told him like, yo, I got another email from Kickstarter that you guys are doing another one, and he's like, yeah, this guy Kevin, he's doing this book, and it's about a couple that the guy's making a time machine in his basement, and then he introduces her to it, and like the past and present. He's like telling me all this stuff, and I'm just like listening, like, holy, this sounds awesome. And he's like, yeah, he's right here. Talk to him, meet him, you know. So I went up to you and you were telling me about the book. You gave me a copy, which was awesome. Thank you for that. Um, but like I said, I read it and I really enjoyed it. And the thing that pulled me in is because nowadays, it's always, obviously superheroes are everywhere. You got movies, you got, comic books, you got movies, everything. But this isn't it isn't a hero, like a superhero story. This is just like a regular, a day in the life that, well, not really day in the life because time machine, but it's something that anyone can relate to because of the two main characters. And it kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you ever read Thank You for Not Smoking. It was like a graphic novel that came out years ago, and it was just about a guy reflecting on his life. And then reading this, it kind of pulled me into that because it's just like, I don't want to give away too much, but it's like when you really like think about what you have and what you want in life, you're going to try everything you can to keep it, even if that means sometimes letting things go. So reading this, I was just like, wow, this is really deep, and this is dope for a graphic novel. So how did this come to mind? Like the let me write a graphic novel about time travel, but make it more about relationships.
It was one of those deals where, you know, the, the thing you hear all the time is like, write the story that doesn't exist, that you would want to read. And it's a thing with, I mean, with science fiction too, that it gets I feel like it gets lumped in all the time with action or what, like I saw you ever see Arrival with like Amy Adams and Hawkeye's in it. Or anyway, that's like a
Yeah.
science fiction movie that like is just about this like this language expert trying to figure out this, and it's not, but we get it kind of, they kind of come hand in hand all the time, and you forget that you can totally do, that. And that was the thing. Like, and I had this story in mind. I actually pitched it to a friend of mine as like a short film, and I didn't have the ending. It was just kind of gonna be, and he knew his way around like After Effects and stuff. And we never wound up doing it. And then the ending just popped in my head one day. Like literally wasn't even thinking about the book, and it just popped in there, and I started writing it, and then I didn't stop for like a year, and yeah, it was but yeah, I've always liked that idea of like, you know, you think you know what you want at, a certain point, but everybody thinks they were you hear people say that they were stupid when they were younger all the time, but you don't know you're stupid when you're stupid. Like,
Yeah, yeah, like the character says, is like, you don't know shit,
yeah.
talking to his younger self. 'Cause the whole Steely Dan thing, it's funny because I've been listening to them a lot lately, and it was before I read this, and then when they popped in there, it's like I didn't like them when I was younger, but I remember like a lot of groups would sample their songs, so like that's how I knew of them. And then one time I was like, let me just sit down and listen to their albums, and I was like, holy crap, this is actually pretty good. Um, and then you have that in here, so it's kind of funny how that works out. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the beginning, you have a forward by one of your former teachers, Douglas. Is it Klaubu? Is that how you say that?
Klauba.
Klauba.
Yeah.
And then so I noticed that that was written like in 2020. Has he or have they like looked at the book, the finished product now, and have they given you like other words about it or like telling you like what they thought of it?
Oh yeah, he was great. There it's not around anymore, but there was this school of international comics in the city, and it was a real school. Like, I don't know, Eric Wolfgang. There's a bunch of people that went there. Um, and I have like a full-time job, and I couldn't really enroll in a full, in a school, but I emailed them, and they were like, yeah, if you want to do like a tutoring program. And I'd been working on the book, and I just wanted like a pair of eyes to look at it, like, and be like, hey, does this read right? Like, I'll read, independent books a lot of the time, and they're hard to follow, and and I just wanted someone to look at. And so we did that, and he was great. I'd come in and be like, try redrawing this panel from this angle, or like, this doesn't read the way you want it. It was great. And I don't know how long we did it for, but yeah, I would just go in once a week and show him what I had done for, half hour, an hour. And he really kind of coached me through it. And then when the book was done, uh, yeah, I gave him a copy, and yeah, he says he liked it. I mean, but yeah, he was great. I don't know if I would have been able to, I don't think it would have, I would be as happy with it if it weren't for Doug. He was great. But yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's I guess I get and anything that you do, it's always great to have that, I guess, that veteran person or that one that's been doing it for a while, like look at it and be honest with you about it. Because it seems like he was really like open about it and not like, just telling you stuff that you wanted to hear, like being like, hey, it would look better if you did it this way. And then you taking that criticism and
Oh yeah.
because of where he was, you understood it and not was like, I don't want to do what you're telling me.
He was great. One of the things was the cover. I was lost. I didn't know how and Doug's job is, he's literally a cover artist. That's what he does. He draws for a lot of Moonstone, a lot of really cool pulpy. If you look him up, Douglas Klauba, and he's awesome. And I was just like really struggling with the cover because I wanted a certain look, but I didn't know what I wanted, and I just kept turning stuff into him, and be like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "Nope." I mean, I went through 20 covers. He's like, "Nope, that's not good. Like, it has to do this and this and this," until I landed on this. The blue one that it currently is. That was the first one where he was like, "Yeah, I like that one. I'm like, great, you know."
Yeah, and it's funny because like just looking at it, you're just thinking, okay, like, are they running from something or or what's going on? But it's like there's a lot more happening here once you read the book that you understand because I mean I guess you could say there is a lot of running because they're running from not wanting to know things. They're running from like trying to keep their relationship going, and then they're also running from, I guess you could say, not being apart. I
They'll
mean, I
kind
like I
of
say, I
like,
don't want to
yeah,
like say too much, but
or yeah, kind of with what they're gonna, it's basically, yeah, if he invents a time machine and kind of gets a glimpse of what happens to him, and he's not into it, so he's kind of, that's kind of the whole pitch, kind of,
yeah, yeah. And then, like I said, I really, I mean, I think like maybe next time, like we'll get together and just talk about it because I don't want to give too much away because I want people to check it out. I want people to support the Kickstarter. I want people to pick up a copy for themselves because, like I said, it just. I mean, there's a lot of cool like Easter eggs in here if you're into like any fandoms because there's like Doctor Who references, there's like Star Wars references. The Shaun of the Dead one I thought was hilarious in there. But there's all these little things, and then like for me being a Star Wars nerd, like at the time, like one of the clocks had like 11:38. I'm like, oh, 1138. But I don't even know if that was like intentional. If it was just like, oh, that's a good time to put on there. But there's a lot of quick little things like that that any like I said, fans from any fandom will enjoy. But the story is also what really drives you in. And like I say, I want to talk more about the story, but I want people to check out the book. But if you can like say something that you not giving away too much, but what would you think people will hopefully get out of this when they read it?
um I th- um I just hope they enjoy it and they can kind of I really did try to get you know kind of a universal feeling, where you're new in a relationship and it's really great, and like the main character is at that point, and just I yeah, I just hope people like it and they're not, that yeah, that's really it. Just as long as people enjoy it, that's all I could really ask for.
Nice, nice. I know that you dedicated it to your wife. What did she think of this? Has she read it?
Oh yeah, she loves it. Yeah, it's funny you say that because that was actually she was really upset. So the first print that came through didn't print that page, and she just
Uh,
saw the special thanks on the back, and she was like, and she really helped me out. She was really great about like, you know, I mean, it's very time consuming, and we were, planning a wedding and all this stuff, and she's been great about like, me going to cons for a weekend and work, and she, before we had kids, she would go with me,
uh,
and I'm a little better now, but I used to be awful at talking to people at shows. I was just shy and kept my head down the whole time, and she would flag people over. She was great. But yeah, I mean, really, I couldn't do it without without just her kind of allowing me to do all this stuff.
yeah, that reminds me. I don't know if you know. I mentioned him before, John Avina from Avina Comics.
I
He,
don't think so.
he's out in Pilsen. I think he lives out in Pilsen. But same thing, like he's at the shows while he's like working with a customer, his wife is like calling people over to the tables, like, oh, check out this book. And like she'll break down the books for them. So that's kind of cool. And then they have their little boy with them too, sometimes at the show. So something to think about, like in further cons, have your kids there, have them be your salesperson. Like, oh, what's this kid walking around with this book for? And like, oh, that's my book. Let me tell you. Let me tell you about it. Um, but also, I mean, the style that you have is like completely different from what I've known, what people normally see in comic books. So like for you, what was your like your inspiration for this book? Like who did you like, were there any specific artists that you were trying on the channel or like writers, or you're just like, this is my style and this is how I'm gonna put it out there?
Sort of, yeah. Like one big inspiration as far as the writing was um I always forget. Yeah, it's Alex Robinson. He wrote Box Office Poison, and there's actually kind of a similar book to this that I read after that I didn't read until after I'd written this, called Too Cool to Be Forgotten. And it's an awesome book. It's not a similar premise, but it's about a guy that basically wakes up in his high school self's body and has to go through high school again. No, and I'm like, that's an awesome premise. I wish I had come up with it. Um, so that guy, but his other books, like Box Office Points, is probably his most popular, and he that one, it's just about four friends in the city, and it goes over a you know like a 10-year period, and it's just really like cool and honest. And uh but yeah, as far as the art style goes, I kind of simplified my own art style at the time. It's funny when I started doing it. I've always wanted to just do cons. Like I just wanted to be one of the guys that, you know, is selling art or whatever. I've always wanted to just live in artist alley since I was like a kid. And at some point, I don't know, maybe around like 2015, I like realized I'm like, okay, that's kind of the game plan, but my art isn't anywhere near where it needs to be, where people would actually like pay for it or whatever. And so I just committed to spending like like the next couple of years just getting better at just drawing every day, taking as many art classes as I could, watching just all the tutorials I could. And I it was cool. I would fill up like a moleskin like a month and like a little notebook. And I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I probably have 40 of them now because I try and fill up one a month. And if you look at the one from 2015 and then the one from, last month, I mean, it's night and day. And it's just from doing it over and over again. Um, but as far as the art style goes, the art style in the book is it's way simpler than my regular art style. I was kind of inspired by like Glenn Keane, like from Disney, and like there's a Disney short called Paperman, that I forget, I played it before one of the movies. And it's just this like beautiful style. It's black and white. I think there's a little color. I mean, it's if somebody sees Paperman and then they see my book, they may be like, "Oh, do you just rip this off?" Like, but it's that kind of was a big, you know, inspiration.
Yeah. Wasn't there like a red umbrella in the
I
Paperman?
think there is. I'm trying to remember. I think yeah, it might be like one red thing in the whole thing.
Uh,
That part I didn't try and steal from Paperman. It's more like just the shape of the guy's face, and this art style is kind of close to it, but it's just I I took a lot of the sketchiness and a lot of the, you know, I just wanted it to be as straightforward as possible.
right, right. Speaking of the too cool to be forgotten, that's the one that I was thinking of. I don't know why I said the smoking thing, but I think probably because of the cover.
Yeah.
But this is what that brought me, reminded me of. So that's weird. It's like a circle, man. That's pretty awesome. Um, one of the things also I wanted to talk to you about, because I mean, obviously, whenever you're writing something, especially something like this that has to do with time travel, you have to have like I guess like an outline so you don't, I guess, either repeat yourself or like um, I guess negate something that you said earlier.
Yeah.
So for this, that when you were writing it out, did you like have like a timeline for it as you did it, or do you just wrote it out as a script and it's like okay now, let me draw what I did on this page or on this page of the script.
Yeah. So I agree, especially when it comes to time travel. Nothing's worse than a time travel story that doesn't stick to its own rules. Like you need to like establish like you can do this and you can't do this and this is what happens but like nothing's more frustrating than a time travel story that doesn't do that. But as far as just making it, yeah, I wrote the outline, like basically a step-by-step thing, like this happens, then this happens, then this happens. I broke it up into acts. Um, and then I took each act and I wrote the dialogue for it, like it was a script, for a movie. Um, and because I had the whole thing in my head, like I could see it it was like a movie in my head. So then I took the dialogue and I just did thumbnails. I basically drew the whole book in tiny little thumbnails that like I took a black, a red, and a blue pencil and basically did the whole book with stick figures first. And then I did a rough version, like, a sketchy, and I actually drew the whole book by hand, and then inked two-thirds of the book by hand. Um, and then Procreate came, like I was big on Procreate. Procreate came out with what did they did something. Like they did an update where it made something so much easier. It might have just been the whole like when you hold the pen down, it makes a straight line or it makes a perfect circle, you know? It might have just been as simple as that. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna re-ink the whole book digitally. So I went back, I re-inked the whole book digitally. Um, and then yeah, I just kept going over it. And then the hardest part was probably the lettering and the coloring because like I really didn't know how to do either one. And lettering's one of those things where like you can it's like editing where if you can tell something like if you don't notice it then it's done right, but if there's anything wrong with it it looks unprofessional, you know what I mean? And like I'm sure like you know it could have been better. I probably should have hired a letterer, but um but yeah, that was I just basically did each one step by step and you know showed it to Doug and pretty much each step of the way. I think when I first met up with him I had probably a third of it drawn. Like, so, you know, yeah, that was it. I mean, and it took about 3 years start to finish.
Let's see. Well, after those 3 years, like now you've learned how to use Procreate probably better than you did before. And now you can be a letterer now since you know how to since you worked on that part too. But
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's awesome too, like learning how you did all that. Because sometimes people would just be like, yeah, I wrote out the script and I sent it to someone. They drew it and showed me what it is. But by hearing like your process, I mean, there's probably other people that are thinking about making something, and then so hearing this would be like, okay, well, I don't really need to spend extra money by hiring other people. I could just do it myself.
Yeah,
By
it
listening to
is.
what you did.
It's more time consuming that way, but it is like it's cheaper and it's, if you've got the time, but yeah, if I've got an idea for another one and if I do that, yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to get it done faster because I don't have to learn how to do all this. I kind of know how to do it. And I know what I don't want to bother doing, like maybe I will hire a colorist. That's the one thing I kind of wish I'd hired a colorist because I have a friend who's a great colorist and I didn't know him when I did the book. And like, that was the one thing I wish I kind of, but yeah, now I know.
Right, right. Well, then also too, you kind of like hinted at it because one thing I was going to ask you is like now that this is done, you got the Kickstarter going. That's going to be running for a while. Once that's done, how much time are you going to take to work on your next thing, or do you have something already like that you're working on, and like
Uh,
what can you say about it?
yeah, I've got two stories kind of in my head and I've got outlines written for both of them. And I'm kind of just waiting. Both of them, I'm struggling with an ending and I'm kind of waiting for it to just drop in my lap. And a lot of people will say like, just start making it and the ending will come to you. And I'm like, that's tough for me because I mean, it's fine. I can go back and cut anything out, but I've started on like character design and stuff like that. And,
Uh,
but yeah, eventually I'm gonna, but once I go, I'll go. Like I find myself like I'll start a project and go 100, whether it's like I have a lot of weird projects. I build Simpsons dioramas. I
nice.
have a lot of weird stuff that I do. And I tend to only do one or two at a time, but when I do them, I'm like 100% in. And so, yeah, when I start the new book, you know, I'll be fully committed. But, we'll see. Yeah, I'd like for the story to be done in my head before I, actually commit to it.
Yeah, yeah, nice, nice. No, that definitely I would say like when I'm writing a review, like I have it in my head what I want to write, and then as soon as I sit down on my laptop, I'm like, okay, what was I gonna say again? And then I have
Yeah.
to walk away, and then once it hits me again that mode, I'm like, all right, let me get this down before anything happens. But
Yeah.
really quick, I want to share the screen here for the Kickstarter. And again, like I said, my laptop's a little bit old, so I apologize how this all looks because
Oh, that's all right.
it's I can't get rid of all this. But no, I mean, it's the book like you told me at Belicon, the books are complete. Now it's just to get the funds to get this out in the stores and in people's hands. Is that right?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I went and I found a printer a couple of years ago and um, I would print out copies and then try and sell them at cons. But like, yeah, the dream was always to get a publisher to basically, help me out with all that and do all the stuff that I'm awful at self-promotion. I'm awful at social media. I'm not, it was always the deal to get somebody basically to do all the stuff that I am terrible at. Um, and Gorilla's been awesome. But yeah, basically the book's done. We've got a printer lined up. As soon as the Kickstarter is over, I mean, I think it'll be a pretty fast, rollout.
And then I mean, as much as $40, you get the book and a shirt, which is pretty awesome. I mean, you can, again, it the thing about me that I like that I started the whole supporting local like segment on our YouTube page is because I mean, there's people that could just go in a con, people know them because of their name and will automatically buy them without even reading it. And then sometimes it might not be the best thing, but it's like, oh, I love this person about it. But for this, I wanna highlight more people that like are in the area, people that I'll probably run into like at local comic cons or anything like that, and that have like quality stuff that you probably won't even see. I mean, that's what the great thing about Artist Alley is all the time is like when you stop and talk to someone and then like they tell you about their books and you see that sparkle in their eye, like they're really excited about what they're saying, they're selling, you automatically want to buy it. The thing for me is like sometimes I hate when I go to cons, it's like, rent was just paid or bills are paid and like I don't have enough money. If I could, I would buy something from everyone at the tables. But I try to support as much as I can because sometimes you'll talk to an artist and it's like they're just like going through the motions. But like something like this, it's like I said, I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of the Too Cool to Be Forgotten, which I somehow thought of a different name for it. Um, but it's like it's something that like you said, you put all these years into putting it out there, and now you have it there, and the what you want is for hopefully the people to pick it up and be like, hey, what are you gonna do next? Like start, and then that builds that fire in you too to get something else out, and then you build that fan base. But I really enjoyed it, man. I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun. And like I said, I want people to pick this up and read it because you might think about life and it sounds so deep to say it, but I mean you might think about life and like other things going on in your world differently because of this. And I don't know if anyone's ever told you that or like thought like if that's like what you thought in your mind or you're just like this is going to be about relationships and time travel or like how did you like how did you see people like interpreting this after they read it?
Um, yeah, I mean, I've always, yeah, I've thought about like, I mean, you really, yeah, that's the moral of the story is that, like I said earlier, like you don't know when, even if you're sure about something, you don't know when you're making a mistake, and even, and I don't know. I think if more people thought about that when they were doing something, like I have a huge Ghostbusters tattoo on my leg, and that um I got it when Harold Ramis died, and my thinking was I've wanted it my whole life and I never got it, and then
Uh,
when Harold Ramis died, I was like, well, because I know a guy that had a Transformers tattoo that he got in high school and it was awesome, and then they started making all the movies, and he was like. Now everyone thinks I'm an idiot, because these movies are awful, and a lot of people only know the movies. And naively when Harold Ramis died, I was like, well, they can't make anymore. So I mean, I can get it now, and now they keep making crappy ones, and like I wouldn't get it removed or anything, but like I like it now because it kind of like it like reminds me that like I you know what I mean, like that I was stupid, like like I thought that was a really good idea to get, and it probably was. I wouldn't do it again, but
uh,
you know at the time I was very sure of it. I spent a lot of money on it. Like it was, of course I want to do this.
yeah.
And yeah,
Well, if
but
you ever run into the one of the remaining Ghostbusters, you could always be like, "Hey, check out my tattoo."
yeah, yeah. I think I showed Dan Aykroyd at a show, but I'm sure, he's a friend of mine actually I did because a friend of mine has a Blues Brothers tattoo. And yeah, it was kind of it was kind of and he was like, Jesus, guys. Like but
Talk
yeah.
about fandom, man. I mean, it's why we're here. It's why we do these things. And then like I'm not seeing like your action figures in the background there,
Oh
and then
yeah,
I
that's
have
all Simpsons. That's the one, yeah, like franchise that I'm like I love Star Trek and Robo all that stuff, but like yeah, the Simpsons are the one that really hit my pocketbook. Like I'm a sucker for Simpson stuff.
Yeah, like I have a lot. Like I said, you can see behind me. Kind of hard to see like the hot toy figures behind me. I mean, I'm like, thank God for payment plans. That's all I'll say for these things. But friends, definitely like that. I'm gonna have Kevin's link because right now it's just an Instagram that you have, or is
Yeah, I'm just on Instagram. I have a Twitter, but I don't. I think I have a Twitter. I've never, I think I made one. I think there's a Timewise comic on Twitter, but I don't post on it. And honestly, on Instagram, until this Kickstarter, I would post basically once a year, for the Simpsons diorama contest that I enter. But yeah, it's been really, but yeah, yeah, I'm the other Kevin Krull on Instagram, and and Guerrilla Publishing is the other one. Yeah.
yes, definitely. I mean, friends, like we'll have the links in the description here. Definitely check it out. Follow him on Instagram. Check out the pictures he has. Check out the Simpson dioramas. Next contest, hopefully more people. You'll build people to vote for you from this, and then definitely check out the Kickstarter. I mean, it's I think the lowest is like $20. I mean, digital copy, and then from there get a physical copy. I mean, I'm like a physical media person because one day if the internet goes out, I like still have like my DVD copy to watch instead of waiting
Oh
for the
yeah.
cloud to come back.
I've got about
Um,
800 DVDs in the basement because just in case, like, I want to watch Cannonball Run, but you can't get anywhere. You can't even buy it. Like you have to have the DVD.
yeah, there's a like recently with 28 days, like a lot of people are like, it's not streaming anywhere unless you have the DVD. That's the only way you could watch it. But now I think Sony brought it back up because the
Yeah,
demand
because
was
the new
high.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that happens. I mean, that happens a lot. There's nothing that gets me to buy a movie faster than saying like, oh, it's out of print. You can't get it. I immediately pick it up. And most of the time it'll come back eventually. But like Dogma, I think for like Dogma never got a Blu-ray release because that different people owned it, or it's a whole thing. Like
yeah,
yeah, it's a whole thing.
yeah. I still have my DVD, which I was kind of happy about, and it's just got re-released again
Yeah,
uh, in theaters. And then Krull, it's only available on Tubi.
yeah. Okay, can you even rent it? I
I don't
wonder.
think so, but it's on Tubi. So I mean, there you go. So if
That's
you're
funny.
watching this and you're wondering what's on his shirt and what that movie is, go to Tubi and watch it.
It's Liam Neeson's first movie. It's something else. You know what's funny? There's no like there's a DVD of it, and I think it's on Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray is just a transfer of the DVD.
Uh-huh.
But there's no, you would think there'd be like an Arrow really like a big, I don't know. I feel like it has enough of a following to do like a special edition, with a bunch of bonus stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not out there.
All right. Well, after this, that's something we should work on, getting the word out
Yeah.
to start a Krull. Get either like Shout Factory or Arrow Distributor or one of them to put it out there. Um,
Yeah.
but again, friends, definitely time wise, support that Kickstarter. Get yourself a copy. Kevin, thank you very much for your time today. I mean, I'm wishing you all the success with this book. I can't wait to see what's next. And then I'll definitely see you at the next con. So thank you for your time today.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That was a pleasure. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Anytime. All right.